Hi guys, and welcome to your weekly horoscope. This one is for Monday the 31st of October, so happy Halloween, until Sunday the 6th of November 2022. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and in this horoscope I'm going to go through each day of the week to see what relationships the planets form with one another, what energy that brings up for all of us down here on planet Earth, whether you're a Virgo or a Scorpio or a Libra. And the point of these horoscopes is to try and get a sense and a feel of what the energy is all about, so you can make the most of it. Now, this week, to me, looks very interesting, to say the least. We have the sun, which is your identity and what you're striving towards. If I'm looking at your birth chart, I look at the rising sign as your natural default setting, what you come along with easily. And the sun is what you'd like to embody, what you'd like to become. So the sun is in Scorpio. Venus, the planet of love, beauty, creativity, is also in Scorpio. And I'm trying to prevent myself from using the word intense, because I think Scorpios must be so sick of hearing the word intense to describe them. Scorpio is a water sign. It's all about getting to the hidden truth, the thing that is taboo, the thing that's not revealed. It's ruled by Pluto, a planet of transformation and change. So it's not about like outing people. It's very much about trying to get to the dark core truth in order to heal it. So it's not negative. It's actually a positive, but the process can be somewhat challenging. So Venus in Scorpio demands this has to be Romeo and Juliet level. Or what I mean by that, it has to be like really at the most full-on level for me to be interested in this and to engage with it. So you're coming at a situation with a lot. And then we also have Mercury in Scorpio. Mercury is the communication planet. In Scorpio, it can be a little bit suspicious and look around at what's really going on. Flip that, and it's very good at gathering information. So as you can see, it's not the most simple lineup with all these three personal things. The luminary, the sun, Venus and Mercury, personal planets being in Scorpio. Because for instance, I'll get to the horoscope in a second, I promise. But if I'm looking at your birth chart, I'll analyze that, and if I want to have a look at what's coming up in future, I look at your progress chart and your transit. And the progress chart is artificially constructed by me. I take your birth chart, I speed it up by 1 degree for every year you've been alive, and it shows me where your personal planets are now at and how you've changed. Because the personal planets literally make up your personality. So we've got Mercury and Venus in Scorpio. So the only one really is Mars, and that's in Gemini at the moment. So even Mars, even though it's in an air sign, isn't going to cool things down. It's going to say, express yourself. If you're feeling something very intensely, then that is, I said it's intensely. But if you're really feeling something, then it's your duty to kind of get it off your chest and to express yourself, So I would just, I just want to highlight that and say, with those kind of things, it's important to use your own discretion and to say, when is it productive and helpful for me to speak up based on my feelings, and really when is it just going to create more chaos or drama. The other thing with all this energy this week, I feel there are going to be some highs and lows here, and I've mentioned it as I go through each day. There are certain days where, or one day in particular, where I think it's likely that you get some news that you don't really want to hear and listen to, and then you have to deal with. And there are 2 other days where you get some really good news that you do want to hear and work with. So your external circumstances are busy and alive and doing stuff, and it's kind of like the world is imposing itself on you, and you're going to respond to that. And again, I would say be prudent about it. Why am I laughing? I'm laughing because, if you really feel like really incensed about something, and then it's in a situation that isn't particularly changeable, like you're at the dean of the university's office, right? And you're having a discussion, and you have strong opinions. The dean isn't really very likely to be swayed, and the imbalance of power, like if you're the student and that's the dean, then it's really, you're barking up the wrong tree in a sense, and that's the kind of thing I'm getting here. So let's have a look then on Monday the 31st of October, Halloween, Shamain, I think it's called. We've got, I really like this holiday. I like both sides of it. I like the original kind of, this is like when, based on the Northern Hemisphere, the world is darkest, and you're able to kind of get in touch with those things that are unseen and that are on the other side. You know, it's so, as a human being, like, well, I'm speaking for myself here, as a human being, I really know that it's a truth, that there is something bigger out there that kind of exists, and that I can connect with it and have a discussion and a dialogue, right? It's a real thing that I experience. And I'm not the only one, because we have things like, and I'm sorry about my pronunciation, Shemaine, and Halloween, which kind of celebrates that time of year when the kind of hidden things do come to the surface, and we can kind of become aware of the shadow self, so that when well, and this is my take on it, but if you make that shadow self conscious, then you can heal it and not let it haunt you as such. So I feel it's very much about that, like going into the dark in order to see the light. And that's what Scorpio is all about. So this lineup of Scorpio here with Halloween, obviously it's the right time of year, but it's very on brand with this whole process of what exists beyond the physical reality. So on Monday the 31st, we've got the Capricorn moon forming a conjunction with Pluto in Capricorn, so you're going to be very practical and productive. It sextiles Jupiter in Pisces and quincunxes Mars in Gemini. So imagination is fired and huge, and you're able to express yourself very well and to play the tape forward and to see how things could work out. That's a major plus. The moon enters Aquarius at 5:43 in the afternoon, so ideas, studying, learning, particularly a glimpse into someone else's way of thinking is going to become very interesting to you. The Aquarius moon also squares the Sun and Mercury in Scorpio, so you'll have strong feelings about ideas that cross your path, that come along on your journey. So with the earthy stuff, Capricorn, on Monday, you're heavily focused on work and you're able to get things done. So it's the best day, really, in a while that's come along, to deal with institutions, legal matters, and kind of admin organizational things, paying credit cards, getting organized, all of that stuff. And I would recommend, based on this, that any of those kind of errands you have to run or jobs you have to complete or anything like that, that you do it early on in the day on Monday, because later with the moon going into Aquarius, I feel that the mood really changes and you become very interested in ideas and abstract things, and you could become far less productive and may want to kind of just relax and zone out and read a book or something. Tuesday, the 1st of November, I always think the first of the month is significant in terms of what's happening during the whole month. So we've got the Aquarius moon conjuncting Saturn in Aquarius, so we're now moving into the realm of air and ideas and teaching and learning. It squares the Sun and Mercury in Scorpio and Uranus in Taurus. So again, you're going to have strong feelings about the information that you come across. And also, you may have strong feelings about certain things in your life that you kind of like, okay, I didn't know how I felt about this before, but I really know now. And it's like the penny drops and something is clear. So it's the lining up of your thoughts and your feelings, right? They meet and they're like, hello, they talk to each other and it's all ping, makes sense. The Aquarius moon sextiles Chiron in Aries. So I want to use information to help myself. It is a high pressure day, Tuesday. It's very ideas and feelings. So your inner world is super important to you. And what kind of underlies that is like you're super invested in yourself and what you're doing. So anything that disrupts or distracts from that, you're not going to be particularly thrilled about. So I think the first thing on Tuesday is to kind of take a breath. It is high pressure. You may hear some sobering or unwelcome news that requires you to be present, and then you have to deal with that situation. But it's kind of tricky because your response to the information is important. I feel that on Tuesday, you're going to be scrutinized by other people who see you react to certain news. And ultimately, the obstacle isn't the news itself, but it's what happens when you react to it and respond to it, and what the other people or the environment or whatever says then about your reaction. I feel that it's like issue hopping. One thing turns into another. And, you know, like if you're in a small little village, right? And you go to the post office and you want something and it doesn't work out. They say this is not the regulation, the box has to be this big, not this big, whatever. And you totally lose it in the post office and the whole half the village is there. Then for the next 3 years, people are going to be saying, oh, did you see him? He's got a temper on him. You're not careful. So it's a thing that is a double whammy, because one, you don't want to hear the information, but then it's like, oh, and I have to watch out for how I'm going to deal with this. This isn't a private thing. So a tough day, I feel. If the stakes are so high, I think very simply, right? Like, I mean, I try my best. But if I feel like high pressure, then I think, okay, what's the opposite of high pressure? Then low pressure, or what do? You have to kind of let off some steam. You have to turn the valve and let something go. And that's what I think Tuesday, the 1st, is very important for that day, and the whole day is to not sweat every little detail, to pick your battles and to say, right, let me just go into this deliberately expecting some pushback. Not everything is supposed to go my way. Let me see that as normal. And if something does happen that I don't like, I don't immediately have to have an emotional response to it. I can say this is just one of those things. So I'm not saying to turn off your feelings, but I'm saying like Tuesday is one of those days where personally I would mentally prepare myself for it so that I don't lose it. Wednesday, the 2nd of November, we've got the Aquarius moon trining Mars in Gemini. So this is really good for discussions and talking and brainstorming. Venus in Scorpio, quincunxes Chiron in Aries. What about my feelings? That's the voice I'm hearing from that combination. What about me? I've suffered much more than everyone else. Why aren't you paying attention to me? Too much. It's a bit too much. The moon enters Pisces at 8:46 in the evening. The moon in Pisces is very much about que sera, sera. Everything will work out in the end. Let's look at the beautiful stuff on the journey and ignore the details. So not ignore, but minimize. The moon in Pisces, I think, is like, oh, hallelujah, coming in here on Wednesday, because it's exactly what you need, what we need, to not sweat the small stuff and to just go into like acceptance mode. I find that very helpful. So for the rest, not the rest of the week, but the moon is in Pisces until Saturday. That's really going to help you shrug things off. Wednesday is a fabulous day to work together with other people, to hash out contracts and to clear up any red tape, bureaucracy kind of stuff. Job applications, investments, business agreements, they're very much supported by the energy. Emotionally, you'll immediately know whether this is the right thing to do, not the right thing to do, whether you want to sign the paper. So there's no question about that. And also you can really discuss things clearly. Unlike the day before, you may get something that you want, and there may be information that you're exposed to now that you want to hear. I think overall, the key to this whole week, because it's all about the personal planets being in Scorpio, right? That was highlighted, is to try and not to take the circumstances, whether they're positive or negative, too seriously, and to try and wear the circumstances like as a loose cloak that you can shrug off. It doesn't define you, any of this. And I feel that if you don't make that distinction, this is happening to me, therefore this is me, that adds the whole world of pressure that is not required and necessary at all. And that's not going to achieve anything wonderful either. So who cares? It's just going to torture you. And yeah, so breathing. Yesterday I was amazed. I was having the worst anxiety and about like a number of things. And you know when the negative narrative starts and you don't pay attention or you don't distract yourself. So I was by myself for a long time and the voice just it makes me sound, it wasn't an actual voice, it was an inner dialogue. It just got more negative and more negative until I was so stressed out. I was like, oh my God. I sat down, I meditated for 20 minutes and it was really like, my brain was being cleaned out. It was like, afterwards I was like, thank you. It really worked for me. Why did I mention that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wednesday the 2nd, if the pressure gets too much like that, that worked for me, right? That's why I mentioned that example. What works for you? Try that and the thing that allows you to step back a little bit, gather yourself and say, this doesn't define me, any of this. Okay, Thursday the 3rd of November, we've got the Pisces moon trining Mercury, the Sun and Venus in Scorpio. So we've got all water, Pisces water, Scorpio water, and it sextiles Uranus and Taurus. Uranus is change, transformation, and Taurus is the physical. It's a fixed sign. It's very much about let's keep things the way they are and make them better. Scorpio is about let me control the emotional or really connect emotionally. And the Pisces moon is like the dream. So to me, Thursday the 3rd of November is very different to all the other days, because to me, it does feel like a dream. It's super romantic. Like I'm seeing a park and a couple sitting on like a picnic thing, and it's sunshine and flowers and butter. It's just gorgeous. So Thursday, I really feel there's the major potential for romance. The whole energy feels very, you know, like when something is muffled, like the sound is kind of muffled. It's like you're hearing it through like a bubble or like a ball of fluff or something. It's like, wah, wah, wah. So it's like the real world and the drone of it like goes out and you're like, oh, like in this cloud of like bliss. Very, that's a lot. So if you have this cloud of bliss, then that's good for relationships, existing ones, new ones, creativity and spiritual work. That's all ruled by water. It's not so good for taking practical action, as you're more invested in dreaming about what could be than rolling up your sleeves and doing it. So I think Thursday is a good day to spend time with those you love and to rest and to recharge and to love yourself. If that's possible, if you have the time, I think that'll be time well spent. I'm really glad I closed the door today, because, can you hear it? When the bells, like, there's one bell here, they changed it, and guess what it's called? It's called Gregory, just to like... But there's other things that have now joined in, and they're discordant. Like, the bells don't even go together. They're like all... So I'm glad you can still hopefully hear it, but it's not drowning me out because I closed the door. Good for me. Friday the 4th of November, we've got the Pisces moon conjuncting Neptune in Pisces. So the dream continues, your intuition is heightened, creativity, relationships, very important. It squares Mars in Gemini, I want to talk and express my feelings. Ooh, so if you want to propose to someone, if you want to say, oh my God, I love you so much, I always have, then Friday is a good day to make that declaration. But as someone who's been there, only make the declaration, I would say, this is my, and you may disagree with this, but like if you're pretty sure of the outcome, don't do it if you're 50-50, it's super painful. The Pisces moon also sextiles Pluto in Capricorn, and it conjuncts Jupiter in Pisces. So I have a dream, I know things are going to work out well for me, I just feel so positive and I believe in myself, I want to change my life and my circumstances. So I think on Friday you take it to the next level and you enter your own little fantasy world. And even though you feel super productive, I think you're more interested in thinking about the changes than actually doing them. Overall, with all the water, I think it's so much that you may retreat a little bit on Friday and take it to this extreme level where you don't even want to open the mail or answer the door, or you just want to isolate. So I think it's a duvet dive kind of day. If there are things that you absolutely need to do, try and get them out of the way at the beginning of the day, when you can kind of break this energy. If you surf this kind of, I'm reluctant energy, it turns into something bigger. So try and break that as soon as you can on the day, when you still have the energy and drive of the morning. I mean, if you are a morning person. If you're if you jump into action late in the evening, I don't know how you deal with that. I mean, because I feel it gets stronger and stronger and stronger until 7 minutes past 1 in the morning on Saturday, when the moon changes into Aries. So again, I don't think Friday is going to be the most productive unless you're being creative and dreaming and looking at what you can do in future. Moving on to Saturday, the 5th of November, we've got the moon going into Aries now at 7 minutes past 1. And the moon in Aries is in a fire sign and it wants to move. So it really flips here at the weekend. You're now all systems go. The Aries moon conjuncts Chiron in Aries. I want to help myself. Quincunxes Mercury, the Sun, and Venus in Scorpio. So I want to take action based on my feelings. Venus in Scorpio opposes Uranus and Taurus. The world is just an illusion. I don't care. I'm going to create my own empire, my own vision here. You're like, so it's like you're so confident and driven here on Saturday that nothing can stop you. It's amazing for overcoming obstacles. The Sun in Scorpio then quincunxes Chiron in Aries. It's almost like you're trying to redeem something for yourself, like a past pain or hurt. You want to you're saying, I want to tip the scales. That didn't work out for me in the past, so I want to have a win in the present moment to make me feel better. That's totally understandable, but that often, that can cause a lot of pain, because if you're coming at it like that, then if this next situation doesn't work out, then you're double pained. It's kind of like, to me, it sounds like a gambler saying, oh my God, I just lost most of my money. I've got to go back in and try and win it back. They never win it back, you know? Well, very rarely, I think. Okay, so Saturday the 5th, I feel like it puts Friday into perspective even, because Friday, the 4th of November, was like the quiet before the storm, because on Saturday you bounce back really, really well, and it's like night and day. Dreaming the days before, Thursday, Friday, is worth doing, because when you do jump into action on Saturday here, you can use your ideas as source material, inspiration, and the content that you're actually going to work with. It's best to pursue your own dreams, obviously, than someone else's. And Saturday, I really imploring you, please pay attention to this bit. Please take a risk in that regard on Saturday. Do something towards getting a thing or a person or a place or a dream or whatever, a feeling that you've dreamt of and that you want in your life. You'll get the outcome you want on Saturday. Very, very, very likely. If you pursue something that you love, you'll get it. Sunday the 6th of November, we've got, oh, by the way, Saturday the 5th of November, happy birthday to my mum. And then Sunday the 6th of November was my dad's birthday, so happy birthday, Dad. Sunday the 6th, we've got the Aries moon quincunxing Venus in Scorpio. So my feelings are important, okay? It's extils Mars in Gemini, so in my words, you better listen. And Saturn in Aquarius, okay, I'm calming down, let's compromise. So you're eminently able to express yourself and to listen. And it squares Pluto and Capricorn. But a discussion that you have, and you do assert yourself on Sunday, that will have consequences. Someone else may not like that or will take you at face value. So if you don't want anything to change, be careful about the conversations you have on the day, and listen for the tone becoming somewhat strained or argumentative, or voices being raised, because it's very likely that a normal discussion can veer off into something much more serious and not pleasant. Mercury in Scorpio quincunxes Chiron in Aries. Me, more me. You really value your feelings this week. So, if I'm that invested in my feelings, it's like, oh, it's never ending. Like if I'm saying, that really hurt me that you did that, like, especially if it's something about trivia, like it really hurt my feelings that you didn't call me back when you said you would, That's fine to say that and to express it. But I think it's not so fine to express it 6 months later and to say, I'm still really upset about that phone call I never got. It's just not reasonable. So I think you may come across as something that feels like that. Like the punishment doesn't fit the crime. Someone is just seeing things from a totally slanted perspective and you're like, how do I reason with this? It makes no sense. That's the vibe I get. And, if you're completely unable to empathize with someone else or see past your own kind of then that's the response you often get. It's like, okay, I'll leave you to your feelings then if they're that complicated and important. Venus in Scorpio squares Saturn in Aquarius. You feel a certain way about an institution or a group of people possibly ganging up on you. So I feel like there's the potential for getting paranoid. So if there's something that's a disagreement, when you're in a group of people at a dinner or something and you argue with one person at the dinner table and it's just not pleasant. And then afterwards it's kind of quiet and no one intervenes or speaks up or moves the thing on. And then you start to look around and it's like, oh, were these other people in on it? Does everyone feel this way? Are they all, you start doing other people's thinking for them. And I feel that's very unpleasant. So what's the solution to that? I think giving the benefit of the doubt and being honest about the way you feel and what, fine, this is the way I feel. Okay, I still feel that way 6 months later and I'm still bullying you about it. That may be a bit unreasonable. Yes, those are my feelings. I will consider it. It's just like letting a little bit of light in and the potential that, okay, I might not have 100% righteousness here. So I think on Sunday with all that, it's complicated, I think. There may be a disagreement with someone close to you. And it doesn't come from the actual disagreement, I feel. It comes from all the pressure you've been feeling and putting on yourself. So it's one of those situations where conflict has nothing to do with the real cause, which is, again, frustrating. I think it's best to own your part and to try and be content. I can't say this because it's like, when you practice what you preach, I don't practice what I preach with what I'm about to say. I have to be, be content and try to be content rather than to be right and righteous. It's like the Course in Miracles. What was it? Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy or something? I was like, what's option 3? So try and be content. What I mean by that, acceptance is going to work. And say, this doesn't suit me, but I'll accept it and I'll let it go by. I'm content. Rather than, I'm right, you're wrong, I have to blow this all up. No. Especially not Sunday. It doesn't work for you. It doesn't make anything better. It's like trying to change someone's mind online. It's just not going to work. Okay, so that's what I get for you this week. I actually really look forward to it. When I go, because I'm a sun sign Virgo, when I go into Scorpio seasons, I'm like, oh, I've just criticized myself for the last 6 months, and now we're going into the real deep dark stuff of it. And also there's a sense of this isn't my territory, because Virgo may be self-critical and pick at things, but Virgo really does the work and really examines something and then pulls it out and says heal, and it does heal and it's done with. It's not like this constant so yeah, it's serious. We're entering November here, a serious month full of real feelings, the potential for real change, and the potential to really get a hold of ourselves and rise to the occasion when we want. It's amazing. But like I said, both my parents are Scorpio. Scorpios are very present. It's like you can't get a lot past a Scorpio. If you're BSing, it doesn't really work. Emotionally very aware and checking all the different things. That's the vibe of the week I get. Nothing's going to get past you as such. Okay, so I hope you have a fabulous time. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. When you get to the website, scroll down a little bit. There's a button that says book your reading. Click on that to order your reading with me. I use astrology, the tarot, and numerology in my personal readings, and I combine all three. If you have any questions about your life purpose, ideal job, family, living situation, finances, what's coming up in future, strengths, weaknesses, progress chart transits. If you have any questions at all about what's happening next, or you want to discover your own strengths and weaknesses, what you can kind of bank on to make things a bit easier, then please do get in touch with me for a personal reading via the website, gregoryscott.com. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe and share the video online, please. And also recently, last week, we had an eclipse. We've got another one coming up soon, next week. And the eclipses are genuinely important. I feel that those energies are something, they kind of give us a sense of, or the eclipse in itself gives us a sense of the next 6 months, where that energy is then present. So we had the eclipse, we're in between two really. So if you want to check that out, I'll make the eclipse on the one coming up next week. So watch this space. But it's an interesting season, and if you're trying to rearrange things or tweak things for yourself, the information there can be very, very useful. So check that out. Have a wonderful week, and I will speak to you for the daily tarot readings, and all the best. Oh, by the way, the clocks are changing in Europe on the 30th of October. Yes. In the States, they change on the 6th of October. There's a bit of a gap. And I've noticed because I speak to people in person, Zoom, Skype, etc. This first week, that gap, there's always a scheduling mess up. So if you are speaking to me this week, please double check the time. I'll double check the time so that okay, just FYI. All the best. Speak to you soon. Take care.